Today I'm going to talk about a Burmese dish which we only make once a year called Korma. We usually make it on Eid al-Adha, and it should not be confused with the Indian dish which shares the same name. With the Indian dish, we have a version of it in Burma which we call Kalya. It's similar to how Americans use the word jelly for what we call jam, and what we call jelly, they use the word jello for that. Okay? Or chips, we use it for chips, while the Americans use the word fries for that. And with chip, we use the word chips for what we call crisps, or other way around, depending on which you think is the absolute word. But I would say the correct form is where it started. For example, Arabs, in Arabic, the word bakara means cow. That word went to the Indian subcontinent, and the meaning changed, but the pronunciation remained the same, and they use it for the word for goat. Okay, now for korma, we usually use the good bits like chops as chops. Okay, but what's left over, which does not fit in with anything else, like all the offcuts, we usually turn that into what we call korma, which is absolutely nothing like what Indians use the word korma for. Grandmother's recipe for this. She was part of the royal family in Burma, and you're going to get a little bit confused here because you know Burma is a Buddhist country, and so you can say, and you might know that my family is Muslim, but the thing is, it's always the case, right? This was not an exception, it was the rule. What happened when the king ruled was he would give the high positions, like one of my grandmother's relatives was a judge. I think her ancestor, I think her grandfather. And because a judge can remove the king, then the king would turn the judge into his son-in-law. And other members of my family were generals or the prime minister, and they were made son-in-laws of the king. The king would marry his daughters to them, to stay in power. So basically all the positions of power which were powerful enough to remove the king, they were given to Muslims, because a Muslim can't kill the king and become the king himself, because the country is Buddhist. The people within the country would not accept a Muslim person as the king. So generally that's why my family, especially on my paternal grandmother's side, were royal. But even though they did not belong to Theravada Buddhism. Stop. Fill your pot up completely, because that will reduce heavily. Add 2 generous tablespoons of salt all over it. We want as much as possible, because this used to be used as a preservation technique to save the meat for later. And we're going to add 6 cardamom cloves. I got 7 there, but it doesn't really make that much of a difference. And then at a high heat, we're going to heat this up until we got reduction. No water, no oil added, because we're going to use the fat from the meat itself. So a high heat until we've got reduction, then the lowest heat. Put the lid on and just let it simmer there. Stop. It's been about half an hour now, and it's started boiling. You can hear the bubbles. So now I will reduce it to the lowest heat and keep it there for a good 3 hours at least, depending on how long it takes for it to reduce. Left it in here for about 3 hours, very, very low heat, and you can see that the water has gone. And when it comes to how it's done, This is how my mum's one is. And you can see all that oil on there. That's all the fat from the animal. And this would preserve it. Gonna use my grandmother's recipe, so we're gonna add some ghee onto it. And we'll see how that goes. So my mum usually does it like this. If you're Jewish, yeah, kosher like this. But you know, if you're not and you don't mind mixing a little bit of dairy on it, we're gonna mix some ghee in it. I'm gonna add the whole lot of this remaining ghee into there. It is ready now, and you can see there's lots and lots of oil in there, and that's what preserves it. When that oil cools down, this basically is like a giant candle, and whenever you want a piece, you just break it off, heat it up, and then you got a piece of korma. Just to repeat, this is what we call korma. You can see all that fat in the bottom. This is what Indians call korma. We call this Kalya. So in Burmese, this is called Kalya. This is called korma. There's no equivalent to this in India. And the Indians call this korma, but we call it Kalya. We put the bread inside the oil and we eat it. Also, we can get a piece of meat from with bread and eat it.